More importantly, when you're handling brands, there are certain norms, there are certain rules that you have to follow while you're displaying brands, selling brands, staff representing a brand.
You have to accommodate the brand guidelines.
Absolutely. For any business to succeed, you have to walk into your business as a consumer. Don't walk into the business as as the runner of the business, as the owner of the business, or as part of the business. So if you have gone into the psyche of a customer, if you understand your target customer well, which we call TG in terminology, in our terminology, target group, you will be able to understand what he's looking for, and then basis that you will be able to provide or service him in a manner that he goes happy, convinced, and wanting to come back and speak to you. So Shopper-Stop, whatever they did, even if it was on a smaller scale, it was already structured. They were the only company around that time which had a very advanced system-driven ordering, platform. Not many people had at that point in time. Everything is fine. My guidance to you is very, very sharp mind. He would, pick up things without you telling him. You take care of your people, they'll take care of your business. I used to be a very hard-nosed manager who would stick to rules, processes, procedures, leaving the heart out, when it came to getting numbers and all. How do you compare somebody to buy? You put something in his mind, so whether he likes it or no, but he feels inclined to buy. So I thought, what I got the teams to do, instead of the security guy standing and greeting and whatever at that point in time, I said, let's have teams. Everybody will spend an hour. Well, let's say I have a team of 10 across different departments. One person standing up next to the security. The moment somebody walks in, we hand them over a shopping bag. Within the lifestyle, I got an offer for a brand called Max. This brand is not about loyalty. This is about, we used to have a tagline at that point in time, says fashion at affordable price, because Max is a private label brand, is an entry level brand. 199 to we used to have 199 to 1200 and all and whatever. We're not going to go that way. I asked him only one question. I said, today I'm in a situation where I don't know how many customers are going to walk in tomorrow, because we're not talking about loyalty. Now loyalty is everything. So if you walk into a Mac store today, talk loyalty. It's not always about what price you sell a product at. Unless you are a day-to-day consuming brand, which is an FMC. Eventually, since they changed into this loyalty game, is that the marketing budgets came down drastically. So I would focus on what I needed to do to improve my sales, whether it was on the people's front, whether it was on the merchandising front, whether it was on the promotion front. As I said, the complete life cycle of the product I would have to look into.
Sales. In this episode, we have Mr.Rajinder Mattoo. He is business head and CEO for Khimji Jewellers at Odisha. Mr. Rajinder is a senior sales and business development leader with rich experience from retail industry. Coming from a hotel management background, he started his career into service industry with Oberoi Hotels and Resorts as a reservation in charge. His foray into retail industry happened with Alex Trading, Bahrain. There he learned the nuances of running a retail store with multi-brand display, winning customers with innovative strategies while keeping culture and consumer preferences in mind. After 4+ years of Bahrain, he returned to India and worked with American Embassy duty-free stores. His next move of joining Shopper-Stop unveiled his potential for achieving numbers with innovation at every stage. He turned around loss-making stores into profitability while enhancing customer experience. After Shopper-Stop, he joined Lifestyle International and worked for their brands like Max Retail and Easy Buy. There he harnessed the power of loyalty programs, in reviving customer relations and retaining them while engaging them with full-fledged loyalty programs. His 30 years of experience working with different companies with different challenges and in different locations made him think of supporting an aspiring brand with growth mindset. Thus, he joined Khimji Jewellers, Odisha. Khimji Jewellers is one of the oldest jewellery brand in India, known for their customer service, customer trust and elegant design. Mr. Rajinder's thoughts on contributing back to sales community echoed with Deep Talk Sales vision, and thus today we have him as our guest. Mr. Rajinder has learnings and experiences more than we could ask for the conversation. Hence, we are releasing the whole conversation in two parts. We sincerely thank Mr. Rajinder Mattoo for displaying patience and energy throughout the conversation. Now it's our turn. Let's start to watch part 1 from this episode. Welcome Mr. Rajinder to Deep Talk Sales.
Thank you for inviting me, first of all. I never wanted to get into service or a sales industry. I just wanted to be more a person who is known for his own competence rather than a team handler. But destiny had its own role to play, and this destiny, instead of getting me into a profession like medicine or engineering, which were the most sought for professions of that time, in spite of the fact that I had good academic credentials, I couldn't get through in either medicine or engineering. But then as things moved on, I realized I had to take a call about my life. I came across this hotel management course, which kind of sounded interesting to me. Not that I wanted to be in this course, but I just thought that it'll give some direction to my life. We'll look at it later. That's where my story starts from. Finished my hotel management and then appeared for a few interviews, got selected for the Oberois, joined the regular entry-level front office executive at the Oberoi. But then, as zest and zeal would have it, Oberoi gave me a platform to build up on. And the span of 4 years that I was there, I think I have to admit that made me the professional that I look to be today. It kind of smoothened the rough edges that I had in my personality, in my communication. I would admit here, and I think because this is for the benefit of salespeople, I'm just going a little back to say that if you believe in yourself or if you believe in wanting to do something, there's nothing that can stop you from achieving it. I'll give an example that I came from a place where English probably was a second language. I would love to write English, I would want to speak English, but when I was speaking to people, I could not conjure enough words at that point in time, to talk so flawlessly in English. And then I remember my interview at the Oberoi. I was so stressed out. I somehow got through that interview. But when it was the confirmation time, which is after 3 months, again my struggle with my conversation, my English conversation, came in the way of confirmation. And I was told that, if it doesn't shape up in another 3 months, we'll have to part ways. Oberoi is being the professional company that it is. But then I had mentors around me and the platform there, which was all about the environment, the kind of people that had been around me, the way they would talk to me and all that. Those 3 months, I think they turned around my life into making the communication far more better. I think people who are watching me now may not even be able to gather that I was poor in communication, but I have to admit I was a poor English communicator. I would write good English, but communicating was not my forte. English communication was not my forte. And I think that was the platform that was laid out for me, and I think that's, from there on, I never looked back. Next was in line was the Star TV. I was part of the initial team when Star TV was coming into India for the cable operations and DTH. And I was part of the initial team, was strengthening to customer service. We were a set of trained people. And gradually, because of the fact that hotel management subjects, because the course is such that they prepare you to take on the bigger roles in the company, like general managers later on as you grow up. So they expose you to all the facets of the function of the hotels, which could be accounting at one end, and the language French was very common at that point of time. You had exposure to all like food production, food and beverage, front office, housekeeping. Then within that industry, what I had learned is something that came to use when I came to start TV. I was moved from customer service to operations. These people seeing that I had operational skills, so they tried me out, and I was able to kind of handle that role. Also because it was a growing company and we got into a pay operation. Before that, any other cable channel, it was free to air. So when it became a paid, all the staff then started getting into paid channels. Then there came the challenge of developing softwares, etc. How will it build? And by virtue of the fact that how complicated the Indian market is, when it comes to doing things, you have to put in checks, balances, figure out what could go wrong, what could not go wrong. I was again entrusted with the task of analyzing the business with all the stakeholders, which would be different departments. Picked up a software company which was Data Product, if I remember correctly. So I worked with them for about 5-6 months to just build up a robust system for them. So I was instrumental in just helping them out to get the cable operations business in place. So that's the biggest takeaway from there. 4.5 years, I think, was good enough for me to be there. I didn't want to leave at that point in time, and I left them, but it was that they were offering me to move to Mumbai, and they were also starting the DTH. For personal reasons, I couldn't have. And though they wanted to help, they couldn't help me at that point in time, so I had to take a call of just withdrawing and just moving in. Starting to look out for something else. A bit of a struggle at that point in time, because way back in 94, 98, there weren't too many media companies, which had come into the pay business and all, as you see nowadays. So the opportunities were a little lesser. And by virtue of the fact that I was coming from a hotel background, had a gap of 4 years, so that patch of 4 years had taken me back to 4 years. So I was in a bit of a quandary as to whether I should still look at going back to hospitality or, the other side of
Exploring
start.
something new.
Yeah, so while I was looking for it, I think close to about a year or so, I think somebody figured out from the Gulf some potential in me. They wanted to hire somebody from the service industry background who could take on retail. So that's where my retail foray started sometime in 2001. The first retail foray got into the Gulf, which is a company called Alice Trading. Mm-hmm. It was number 2 by terms of volumes in the fashion and luxury business. They would sell fragrance and beauty at that point in time. Mm. And that's where I got the exposure to retail in the first place. First one store, and then I had a string of stores given to me as I progressed there. But that was one place that took me through the nuances of retail, because that was it was not a retail like you see in India. It's so haphazard also, in terms of the way people operate. More importantly, when you're handling brands, there are certain norms, there are certain rules that you have to follow while you're displaying brands, selling brands, staff representing a brand.
You have to accommodate the brand guidelines.
Absolutely. And the other part is that while you have to accommodate the brand guidelines, Gulf being Gulf and Bahrain being Bahrain, you would not have hordes of customers walking into you. Mm-hmm. You will have to mandatorily, as per the brand guidelines, have snazzy looking showrooms to fit into the brand guidelines, but then your expenses, how do they get taken care of? Mm. So those were some of the challenges that I found in the Gulf, but being within the norms of what the brands want, how you learn retail really is where the Gulf kind of gave me a platform that really taught me the retail in the real way.
So retail industry for the first time?
Working out, in a new company which did not have its roots in India per se. Firstly, going to the Gulf again was a big iffy at that point. Oh, Gulf.
So you were in Bahrain for about 1.5
4
years.
years. 4 years. 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Very good time actually.
Absolutely. I was not coming from a retail background at all. And as I told you, the kind of challenges that we faced in terms of getting the traffic, not because the traffic, it is there and we are not able to pull in, but luxury does not have lots of people walking in. Then the brand guidelines getting you a challenge, and then your profitability is getting into it. And then we did a certain, and when I started learning retailing, good enough that my boss, who was again the owner of the company as well, did run me through the nuances of what could make things, what could go wrong, and what were the possible solutions that I should look at. And rightly so that I used some of those and innovated some of those to get to a point where it actually succeeded. One was, which I want to tell all the salespeople who would want to have a look at this video.
Please, sir.
I would want to tell them that for any business to succeed, you have to walk into your business as a consumer. Don't walk into the business as as the runner of the business, as the owner of the business, or as part of the business. So if you have gone into the psyche of a customer, if you understand your target customer well, which we call TG in terminology, in our terminology, target group, you will be able to understand what he's looking for, and then basis that you will be able to provide or service him in a manner that he goes happy, convinced, and wanting to come back to speak to you. So we use the psyche of the people within Bahrain to make sure that, of course, the hordes would not come in, but whosoever would come in, we would make sure that they would buy much more. So at that point in time, there was no concept of consultants per se. So in one of the conversations which I had with the MD of the company, we explored this fact whether we should have a consultant. And we said, let's give it a try. So we picked up one
consultant in retail industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you say consultant, it's not a consultant. It's like somebody who is receiving you, understanding your needs right at the entry, and then running you through the entire facet of shopping. So we realized that a lot of people did want or did look up to advice. They'll not ask for it because Gulf is Gulf. The level of egos that people have are very, very inflated, and we played on that. And we said, okay, fine. We're not going to let them ask us. We're going to offer
proactively offer.
We offer it. And Lavanya, you'll not believe that our business turned around by about 75% in a span of 3 months when we introduced this. So that was a huge satisfaction for us as a company and for me as a professional, because I strongly believed in it and I did recommend it to my boss. And considering that this was my first retail foray, it was a huge personal satisfaction for me. When 4.5 years happened, I think I didn't want to come back. But the place was getting more into Bahrainization. The more people were required to be there, which were local. And then there was one other, we were doing a duty free at that time, and we lost out on that contract. So a lot of expenses fell on the retail business as well. And the sustainability started becoming an issue. So before it became too late, I decided, I will need to look back. And thereon, I could have stayed back, but I realized my daughter was just about started to school. I said it's better to be in a safe place, so come back to the country and then look out. It was safest bet. So we came back, and another challenge. The year I came back, the best brands in those times, when it came to retail, was not even Shoppers Stop. 2004, 2005 I was back.
Okay.
So the best brands in retail at that point, even Shoppers Stop did not have more than a couple of stores. I remember having asked my brother-in-law, I want to look for retail. And the one thing he could give me was Vishal Megamart. I didn't know. I said, okay. Big brand. So I came into India, and of course
there were not there were hardly any established players.
Absolutely.
Whatever I remember was like when I started my career in 2001 in Hyderabad. So I hardly have those kind of stores.
Absolutely. I think I remember after me coming back from there, the Shoppers Stop store of, the Khelgaon came into existence after that. Khelgaon store was not there at all at that point in time. So it's pretty late that we started that organized retail. So I'm telling you, my brother-in-law's exposure happened, he having been here only, so Vishal Megamart, big retail. And then when I happened to walk into one of those stores, it was a real shocker for me. I was coming from a luxury retail background.
And Bahrain too.
I said
India, which is just an upcoming market for any organized retail.
And that too, you're coming into an FMCG brand, and then you know how FMCG runs here. No, even there when you would walk into malls and you would walk into the big malls, it was very, very structured. Coming back to this point of how I got into retail back in India is, I happened to be knowing one of the persons. I just again started looking for hotels. One of the previous consultants who I had known in my lifetime. I just connected him. I said, "Boss, I'm stuck. I've decided not to renew the contract. I just thought there's a lot of things in retail I can do here because I come from already an established background. I have nothing." And all you had to say is, "Oh, Rajinder, when I see your profile, I had an opportunity for you for a similar profile in the American Embassy."
What was this role, sir?
This was again the retail duty free. They had a commissary. American embassies have commissaries inside them. Like you have FMCGs, but that's all imported stuff. And their stuff that they import is duty free. Duty doesn't apply. Also, it is only those people who are diplomats or have a diplomatic status. They are only eligible to buy from them. So it is retail, but you call it duty free retail. And there's a quota system that any consulate has. So we had about 14 embassies who would pool in their quota into our embassy because we had this setup, and they would buy from them. So it was a small FMCG setup, and then I was handling all the international brands in terms of food, grocery, then fragrance, beauty, a lot of things. Smallest, and then of course the cold cards, etc. and all that. I did put in my whatever I had to for 2.5 years, but commissaries being commissaries, you don't grow commissaries too much. Again, as I said, I set up everything, and I'm not sure if at the start of the conversation we recorded it, but I am a kind of a person who always requires challenges from time to time. You give me a challenge, I will fight through the challenge, settle things, and then if I don't, and I'll have another one coming in, then it becomes monotonous. So that's where I went to Gulf and then got into retail, and then retail. It has continued. So 2.5 years, of course, the setup could not have grown. So career aspirations, I wanted to just grow a little more.
American Embassy.
To Shoppers Stop.
So Shoppers Stop was in the nascent stages in those days, or it was already an established player?
No, I think when I started, only 2 years I had been into American Embassy, and Shoppers Stop was only opening up its first few stores. I think after that I came to know they had a few stores, but they had some in the south. But 2 years before, they didn't have that many. I said the Ansar Plaza store, which was the first in Delhi, came up around that time only, or just after I had come back from the Gulf. So after 2 years, yes, they were opening up a store, and they wanted people, and they kind of hired me, and I think this is just perfectly correct place for me. And that's why then apparel retail started, non-apparel. So FMCG, duty free, then here you go. I was given the store which was doing a loss. New store, of course, it's expected not to do rocking numbers year one itself. But they just threw me into that store, and because I had come from Gulf and I had a structured retail experience, I was able to, with my team, turn around that experience into a profitable position. So I'll give you an example of 2009 when the world recession started. Everybody was degrowing, and all of us were struggling to understand what's going to happen. And the store had been given to me maybe about 3 months back, if I'm not mistaken, 3 months back, 6 months back. Budgets would come down, but then inwarding of material and all they thought that we should not bet too much on investment. I realized this is an opportunity for us, and this was a year when even in Diwali, the overall gold sales overall gold sales had come down by 30%.
Shop sold gold.
Gold was one part of non-apparel as well, no?
Okay.
So apparels is a major chunk, which was about
Fashion jewelry?
no, even gold,
Okay.
then diamond.
Okay.
Of course, these were brands at that time. What I realized is that this was the first time now that my experience of the Gulf, the proper retail experience of the Gulf was coming into play. It was helping me.
Your work at ShopStop.
Yeah, it was helping my work at Shoppers Stop. Now, initially, I thought that maybe we're too early into this and things wouldn't happen. So Shoppers Stop, whatever they did, even if it was on a smaller scale, it was already structured. They were the only company around that time which had a very advanced system-driven ordering, platform. Not many people had at that point in time. They wouldn't order based on some team sitting in the head office checking on what is selling and what is not selling. They had accesses to their partners who would sell to them way back in 2000. I remember in one of the conversations, Mr. B.S. Nagesh, who was the head at that point in time, he was, I'm not sure he was the MD at that point in time, but was heading the Shoppers Stop. And he said that 1999 we took a call of investing in the software, which cost us so much that if things would not have turned around for us in a year or so, we could have shut shop. But that serious call that was taken kind of took them places and put them ahead of everybody else for at least the next decade.
Okay.
At least till the time I was there, I saw what changes happened there. Of course, they continue to grow and they are much more robust. But Mr. Nagesh's contribution to making Shoppers Stop what it is today is immense, huge. He's a person who's a visionary, and I've had the honor and the luck, and seriously, I am thankful to His Almighty for aligning me to such mentors. He's been in my lifetime a mentor. If you heard of Guru Dronacharya and Eklavya story, so they never met. But then Eklavya got. I'm not an Eklavya, but I'm saying the story is like that. He, of course, is a Dronacharya of the retail. So he kept on inspiring me through his speeches, and I was in one of the stores that he would frequent very much. Not many people in years would get to meet him because of his occupation with the business. In the span of 4 years, I interacted with him at least 4 or 5 times, and every interaction was a learning for me in one way or the other. I need to mention him here because he taught me another facet in business, is that in one of the interactions he said, and that stayed etched in my mind, and I implemented it, and that's been really successful. Rajinder, you remember one thing: everything is fine. My guidance to you is very, very sharp mind. He would pick up things without you telling him. You take care of your people, they'll take care of your business. I used to be a very hard-nosed manager who would stick to rules, processes, procedures, leaving the heart out, when it came to getting numbers and all. And I think that kind of resonated with me in some way or the other, and I started working on that.
Okay.
And whatever success I had after that, that's played a huge role. That one sentence, that's why I say, and a few other interactions which kind of transformed me in one way or the other. But this was something which kind of was a serious transformation for me professionally, and I owe it to him, and I wish someday I get to meet him at a platform where I am able to actually say that he's the man. Besides another gentleman in lifestyle who I will make a mention of as I move along.
So this lifestyle is right after Shoppers Stop? You
right
moved
after
to
Shop.
lifestyle.
Right.
Okay.
But coming back to that 2009, the market had lost about 30% during that Diwali. But by way of the learnings that I brought about from the Gulf, I used those learnings in terms of doing things within the mall and within that particular outlet, that I was actually able to grow the business by 100% on gold jewelry sales.
Selling wasn't the same, is not the same as what it was.
Absolutely.
So you can elaborate a little bit about what then happened when you were trying to increase profitability. What initiatives were taken by you?
Okay, I think the one, as I told you, I came from the learnings of the Gulf. And as an Indian, as a proud Indian, also I'm with respect to everybody else. When we move out of the country, what we call as our self-respect or ego here, we may keep that aside when we walk into other country. Just because the focus is on earning money, so you will keep aside everything and then earn money and do whatever. But while doing those things like if you are in a luxury environment, and I used to have a store in a mall where every fragrance that would get launched, there would be a promoter who would be promoting the fragrance right at the entry of the store.
Okay.
This was very common in the Gulf, and this would fetch us fabulous results. Any new launch?
So giving an experience of the fragrance.
Somebody walking in, say, want to try a new fragrance, and that promoter would be there 7-8 hours, 7 days, and imagine that would give us fabulous results. Each shop. You're selling at least 20 fragrances a day, the new one. About 100, 200, which would otherwise be sold in 4 months or 5 months. So that was something which they were ahead of, and I wanted to implement it. I thought there was an opportunity there. In India, though I thought it was an opportunity, it became an ego issue for people. I didn't want to stand outside a shop. It's like, it's a rundown job,
Okay.
It was there that time, and you don't even see it today.
Today, couple of stores like Health and Growth.
Yeah, very, very
couple
rare.
of stores, they provide that in-store experience to the customers.
Yeah. But just going outside and getting at the gate, nobody's. But I introduced that. And I said, absolutely. I said, I have to do it because I know what it gets for me. So that was one change that we brought about. And the second thing that I talked to you about was getting into the customer psyche. So my understanding was that from the Indian market perspective, by the time I said, how do you compare somebody to buy? You put something in his mind, so whether he likes it or no, but he feels inclined to buy. So I thought, what I got the teams to do, instead of the security guy standing and greeting and whatever at that point in time, I said, let's have teams, everybody will spend an hour. Well, let's say I have a team of 10 across different departments. One person standing up next to the security, the moment somebody walks in, we hand them over a shopping bag. What does that do to you? Somebody has said namaste to you, has wished you or whatever, and then handed over a shopping bag. It instantly creates a sense of guilt in you. I had to buy something.
Going out with empty bag.
Absolutely.
Fill something.
That kind of changed the whole thing of conversion. I would get more conversions. I would get more bill sizes. Bigger bill sizes. And then the third was when this thing hit us, and then the third thing was that how do we now sell jewelry? I think I have to give it to my colleague. I'll name her, if she happens to look at this video. Manisha Rohtagi, I think she continues to work in the Gulf. She was my visual merchandiser at that point in time. Very, very forward looking. She could understand what I was trying to say. I said, Manisha, we need to do something about this. And in a place like Shoppers Stop, you can't take a call of any kind without getting a go-ahead from the head office. And you had a head visual merchandising. We decided, me and her, we decided we went to the mall operations. Now what they do is you have corridors in the malls.
Yeah.
We decided we ought to create a setup in the corridor of the mall, offer jewelry. And it's not like, if you walk into a shopper stop or
Jewelry in the corridors of the mall.
I'll tell you how we would do it. If you walk into a store, generally in a shopper store, you'll have counters and the backdrop, you would have the brand name and some pieces displayed and all that. We said, let's create royalty. So we created a real Rajasthani, Jaipur kind of a royal setup. Gave different brands different corners, had sofas and all put in them. And then we decided we were going to give individual service. So there's somebody who's walking in, there's somebody who escorts. Then your tea coffee, then your cookies and all that, all came from the hospitality thing.
Background of yours.
Yeah, the hospitality thing had worked. Not so much the experience from the girl. I said, let's give it a shot. And Manisha was all game for it. He said, I'll do it. I think this is workable. The second then thing was, when you take mall spaces, it comes at a price. Nobody's going to approve it to you.
In the same mall where Shopper Stop store was there.
Same.
But
we went out of the store.
Out of the store actually visible to people even who were not planning to walk into Shopper
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I must mention the name of the head of operations at that point in time of the mall. We were in Unitech Mall at Noida. And Benu Sehgal is her name. I think she happens to be one of the directors at the hospitality groups, if I'm not mistaken right now. One hell of a lady who had the sense of retail. She was not a typical mall head operations person who would always look for money, look to beat up retailers for this and that. She was all in for helping out retailers to churn out more money so that the mall overall would prop up. And she would always come down and say, what is it that I can do for you? She'd always been asking me. I hadn't been getting too many ideas, but then this struck me. Let's ask for this space. It would have costed. I said, Benu, you have to give it to me. We are in bad shape. If I go back to the management and say that it's at a cost, they're not going to approve it because it's a recession time. And with all the goodwill that I had with her, we managed to get that space free of cost. So I did not have to take permissions from the head office. I got Manisha into the act. I said, we're not going to tell them. And because I was in Shopper Stop, the unit head has a lot of liberty in terms of spending, and he can sign to a certain extent. So again, you don't have to go to visual merchandising budget. You spend out of that. There is a signature.
This is called visual merchandising.
This is part of visual merchandising.
Part of visual merchandising.
Correct. So we decided, okay, we want to create this setup, and with the visual merchandising budget we had, we created the setup, and that turned around the whole game. I had people from Lifestyle walking in. Boss, what have you done? This is amazing. I had Mr. Kabir Lumba walk in at that point in time, who happened to be the MD at that point in time of Lifestyle. Of course, I didn't know him. I had people from Pantaloons walking in and seeing what we'd done. But it was a rocking success. And I think Shopper Stop Noida, within the chain itself, I was the number one store, beating even Rajouri Garden, which was the number one store in terms of jewelry and overall turnover. So Rajouri Garden at that point in time used to do about 100 crore turnover a month. We had about 50. Our jewelry business used to be half of them, maybe lesser. We grew. It's not that they came down by a big margin, they came down, but we beat them again. So the number one store in the entire chain. That turned the perception about what business can do if you have the right mindset within the system. But success also has its fallacies in terms of, as I told you earlier, you get a lot of enemies as well. They may not be visible, but there are some people who don't like it. And those could happen to be the people from the system who are way up the hierarchy. And I think I have no shame to admit, and let people know about it, is that I was actually hauled up for doing that setup by the head of visual merchandising of that time, by not taking his permission. And then he had all the holes to pull in, and this is not as per the brand standard, this is not as per the brand standard. But eventually when the business was done, possibly everybody was happy about it. There was a lot of backlash on me in person for about a couple of months, but then it died down. But having said that, it was personal satisfaction, professional satisfaction. End of the day,
business also,
it's business.
Right? It's numbers that grow.
It's numbers that grow. But as I said, corporate ladder, when you start going up, you either just go with the flow and then just let things happen. But if you don't go with it, then these are challenges that you'll face. So people who are watching this interview want to succeed professionally and they have passion to do something, please continue to do that. You will face many more challenges which I faced, maybe with a bigger magnitude as of today. But if your intent is right, if you're passionate about it, you will reach your goal someday. That I had the fire in me to just do something different. And that's why I did what I did, without even caring about what it would bring to me in terms of any backlash, etc. It was only about business. And to the people who didn't do anything at that point in time and who just, and Shoppers Stop is one of the best companies to work, it's a great place to work, who were with me as the store managers today, at best are senior managers today in the same organization. I have moved beyond. So I'm not trying to blame them for what they are today, but possibly that's where they wanted, their aspiration from a job was different to what my aspiration was. As I said, for me, if something becomes a monotony, I decide to move. And that's why you see my stint not more than 4.5 years in any company, unless I have a challenge. In lifestyle, I think it would have got stuck to maybe 4 years, but then after 4 years, I got an opportunity to do another format. And that's what took me 2 years additional. Settle them.
Which excited you to spend 2
Yeah,
years?
spend more time. There was reasons for me to move on because I think eventually the effort didn't get highlighted, which kind of transformed the business. And that kind of hurt me internally to say that, listen, at the end of the day, I don't think I compromised the brand. It was somebody else's brand. I use the brand guidelines because we are visual merchandiser within the system who was following the SOP, and yet you decided to pick holes in what we tried to do at a time when the company needed the bottom line is the most. And when I gave you those, you didn't have 2 words of appreciation. But then there were others in the system, which would include Mr. Govind Shirkhande, who was the MD by that time himself, who did congratulate us for what we did. There were others in the system, who were more directly related to the Western business, who found holes in whatever we did for whatever reasons, better known to them. But that kind of created this thing in my mind that, okay, I think it's better to move on and put my effort somewhere else. And then you got the opportunity, and there's somebody who was referring to what you did, and they found it incredible from the perspective of the fact that nobody else did it within the industry itself. This offer came to me, and I thought about it for some time, and then I said to myself, see, here I'm doing a brand. I've done what I could do for this place. And then I think I should move on to a brand which is more a private label now. This was a brand now. When you say lifestyle, I was within the lifestyle. I got an offer for a brand called Max, which was completely...
Max stores.
Yeah, the Max stores. Yeah. So as an area head. Again, it was an elevation. On top of that, there was excitement in terms of being accountable and for even merchandising your sell-throughs, your more about the P&Ls, for the complete life cycle of the product, for the complete life cycle of your people, for the complete life cycle of the output of any particular section in the store, means which we call as the return on square feet, the ROI. So that kind of I found exciting. I was given a set of stores as an area manager which were all doing a loss. One of which was a Jolly Garden. So all the cream stores went to another colleague of mine, who had been in the system.
But where is the business logic here? Hiring somebody new, with experience of course, but you're hiring them and immediately giving them loss-making stores. Where's the business logic?
Okay.
You want to try their potential.
Absolutely. That's
right it when the business was working.
See, as I told you, I got this opportunity from the fact that I had done well in Shoppers Stop. But they also had an apprehension that, running a brand store vis-a-vis a private label It's not all that easy. Running a brand store, you don't need to be so robust with numbers and stock turns and liquidations. So that's one side of it they would have thought of. So let's try him there, where we have the least chance of success. I mean, if it fails, it fails. It's anyways, any store that's failing, it fails further. It's like samandar mein se ek bund pani kind of thing. So a drop in the ocean. The other thing is, okay, fine, he's good. Let's see what difference he can make. So a running store, a good store can anyways do well. So what's the big deal about it? So let's give him that. The third thing is that there's somebody else in the system who's been there for a few years. Let's give him some comfort. And let's try out a new guy. I mean, the risk is all with the new guy. These are things that any organization would think. And I don't blame any organization for that. I'm done with it. But in it, for somebody like me, as I said, it's an opportunity. If you gave me a running store, which was profitable enough, my 50% effort maybe would have raised about 10% of business. Would not have been visible. Here, my 10% effort would show about 40% of business if I got the basics right. So they gave me this opportunity, one of which was a Rajouri store in Westgate Mall. I'm not sure if how much you are well versed with Delhi. So Westgate Mall Rajouri Garden was the first store in the North India itself.
Okay.
So it had been operational for about 7 odd years, but it had started going in a downslide in terms of the bottom lines. Lesser number of people walking into the store. At the same time, you're not getting the volumes. Your rentals had to be paid. Your fixed expenses were the same, and then it's not going blue. It was going towards the red side, and eventually the year that I took over, it got into the red anyway. So, the first year, first 3 months, they give a couple of months, and then the one good or bad thing or whatever you may call about a private label format or Max per se, that way they're very, very centric to getting businesses on track. I mean, you would have reviews every 1 month in Bangalore itself, where the MD of the company or the CEO of the company would sit and ask you questions. So first 2 months I was just left on my own to just figure out what was happening. Third month I was called in, and I would get those brickbats for some time. But then business had to change. So what I did was that, okay, I tried to figure out what was going wrong. See, old store, any other person who would have gone in, or any new person normally says, oh, we should do marketing enough. We should reach out to more people walking into the stores. When I looked at their database, they had at that point in time about 25,000 people for which they had database of. 25,000 is huge for a private label brand at that point in time. And then I realized, but their active customer base right now, or the loyalty customer, is about 4,500 of that. So what's went wrong? So your 25,000 multiplied by, if there's 4 people in your family, it's 100,000 people. That's enough for you to get business out of that place, which is West Delhi. I mean, you don't need awareness. That I was very, very clear about. There's something that's gone wrong, and we're not able to address. And it's not that there are hordes of other stores coming in that are making a dent. No. What's going wrong? So I decided to, again from the experience of the Gulf, because they're very customer centric there, service centric there. I decided I want to figure out what's going wrong. I just picked up a sample of customers out of those people who were not visiting the store for a long time, who had not come to us for a long time. Just picked up some database out of that, got people to sit with that database. But before that, I think she'll remember, my wife will remember it, right? I sent her to the showroom, and I sent somebody else who was probably my friend or something, and then go in and just figure out. If you're going in you're walking as a customer, and then tell me what's wrong. And I think I did it for about with 3-4 people who I knew, and most of the answers were on this side of serviceability. Which said that when you walk into the store, of course you have things displayed and all, but sometimes they're not even displayed in the proper order. You look for help. They're all loitering around, People see you but they ignore you. So that was a big red flag for me. And I said, okay, let me address this. And then I picked up a sample out of those 25,000 magazines, 2,500 customers, to a healthy number of 1,000 people, and then put my team on the job of trying to reach out to people and trying to figure out why they've not been visiting us. I mean, I put certain questions in a template which did not, kind of look like a question, where he says that, okay, we've been missing you, you've not come to us for some long time, there's a new collection, how about? And the feedback that came from there was correlating to what my wife and
your friend has given.
Not one friend, but a few other friends had been saying. So I had my answers ready. So the next month's revision, when I went for the review, and the MD sat there, and he asked me for my plan. What is the plan? I said, I want to run a plan for doing something special with the customers who have not been visiting us. I have done my dipstick, and my dipstick says that the serviceability is an aspect which is affecting us. But for me to get back on track, I need to have an offer. I need to bring up loyalty. The moment I touched the word loyalty, the whole room, which included him and others, you're coming from a shopper store background, we're not as big a shopper store, we don't have those monies to spend on loyalty. This brand is not about loyalty, this is about, we used to have a tagline at that point in time says, fashion at affordable price, because Max is a private label brand, is an entry level brand. 199 to we used to have 199 to 1200 and all, and whatever. We're not going to go that way. I asked him only one question. I said, today I'm in a situation where I don't know how many customers are going to walk in tomorrow, because we're not talking about loyalty. Do we want to be in that situation? He said, what's your proposal? I said, I'm not telling you to implement everything everywhere. Let me do a pilot on the store. It works fine, it doesn't work, my neck is on the line, no problem. But at least let me. So he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to invite those customers back with some kind of an incentive to say that, okay, you please come over, I'll address whatever are your issues. At the same time, an incentive to come, which is, I use those gift voucher thing. And I said, I moved out to that. It's okay, fine, go ahead.
Those days you had that physical gift vouchers.
Physical gift vouchers at that point.
It's a closed instrument, basically, which can be redeemed only at your store.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we use that as a tool to get back customers, and gradually we started.
Otherwise, gift vouchers are not given to every shopper in.
It is. No, it's not always that they would use this. I use this as a scheme to get back my people. I use this at the launch of a new collection, which they normally don't do because it hampers.
During promotions, time sales promotion, and also retention and engagement and retention purpose.
You normally, what you do is you use the gift voucher at a time, especially when it's an apparel brand, and especially when it's a private label. When you have run through the through midway of the season, because margins are always at stake, margins are thinner there. In terms of value, percentage might look higher. But if you're a value brand, then margin in terms of volume is lesser, percentage will be higher. So when you did that, when you do that at the start of the season, there's some excitement around. So we did that, and we had gradually people walking in, and I made sure that people in the store made sure that they're attended to. We had the VM in place much better than what it was earlier, and gradually people started walking in. And the store, which had 4 5s or 20, it would have about 17-18% of loyalty. The year I joined, got back to a loyalty percentage, the highest loyalty, 51% across the chain in a span of a year and a half. Now loyalty is everything. So if you walk into a Mac store today, talk loyalty. It's not always about what price you sell a product at. Unless you are a day-to-day consuming brand, which is an FMC, there the loyalty may not work. It's only about prices. Because you get the same thing across everywhere. So apparel is something, what design you find here, you may not find in another shop.
Yeah.
So you want
So
to
how
best
would
be
loyalty bring in those customers to you again?
So using the gift vouchers and calling them over to invite them, that listen,
Okay.
we have a new collection, we've been missing you for a long time.
Okay.
Why don't you come over and visit? So whatever apprehensions they have said, visit us once.
Showing them even the new collection that you have and then
Absolutely.
he visits the store.
They were assigned the people then. If somebody would walk in.
Okay.
I mean, they were not just vouchers, they were invites as well.
Okay.
So if somebody walks in with an invite, would make special provision.
The in-store experience must have been amplified with them.
That is what I will come to eventually. When you said the question, how has the selling changed over a period of time? So I want to tell the youngsters what it was and what it means now and where they need to actually focus on when they actually want to make a difference. So that kind of turned around the business. I got 51% royalty. Store came back to
all of that was in the physical format that time.
Absolutely, there was no online.
There was no online subscription.
Not at all.
No third party.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Please, because recently to Max Record gets a third party offer sorts.
Now they're amplifying so they've got left, right, center everywhere. I'm telling you, even in that time, while I was in Shopper Stop, we used Shopper Stop loyalty was very strong. I mean, Shopper Stop loyalty card was ultimate. But lifestyle with so many verticals, like they had FMCG, then they had Bozzini, other brands and all, they could have, amplified it much more than what others could have done. Till that point in time, while I was in Shoppers, I would always wonder how come they are so, where is their royalty so low? Because I think the conviction about what royalty could bring to them wasn't there, especially with the Max format.
Okay.
And FMCG, nobody even bothers. I mean, FMCG is a different this thing altogether. There was nobody around at that time to think that all this point system and all can be used across formats to promote all business.
FMCG also counts in loyalty.
No, I am saying that cross loyalty you can build up. I mean, you buying a lifestyle, for example, redeem your points at Splash, for example. Redeem your points at Bozzini, for example. You redeem your points at Spar, for example. So build up the brand loyalty. They had so many tools to do it. They wouldn't do it at that time. I kind of pushed it in Max and finally it got done. Today you walk into Max, they'll offer you a card first. Please get us loyalty, please get us loyalty, please get us loyalty. So that is something which they amplified later on, and then that has been the reason for their success. And what it did eventually, since they changed into this loyalty game, is that the marketing budgets came down drastically. Because then you had a focused set, you had a focused set of customers to target on. When you would want to do any promotion, you pulled up all the data across all the formats and then used it. So very, very specific bombarding of information, of offers, rather than just going berserk in your print media, in social media it doesn't cost, but in your print media, in your radio, in your ATL, that drastically came down. So I would assume that their marketing budget, if I'm not mistaken, to start with, when I was there, was about 8-9% of the turnover. It gradually came down to about 6-ish, 5.5-6%. I mean, on the volumes, it's a very healthy money. So that was the difference. I thought I could bring about. And while I was doing this, I think I came across again another situation which was challenging. One of the stores that was given to me in Agra, at Pacific Mall. Pacific Mall had not been doing well, but our store had been doing well. And our arrangement with them was on a revenue sharing basis, and our contract was for the next 10 years. They wanted to shut down the mall because nothing else was happening. But we didn't have a store at that point in time. Unfortunately, the questionability was mine at that point in time. It wasn't a loss-making store, but then they were pushing us out. Rajinder, you need to find an alternative. Okay, my first foray into business development. So with whatever I had gathered from I think I'll take a step back. While I was in Shopper Stop, I used to have one of my colleagues who used to sit out there, and would do business development for Shoppers Stop at that point in time. He would sit with me because my communication skills and analytical skills were good. He would make all his PPTs, but he would always make sure that he would run me through them. So Rajinder, just have a look. Do you find anything missing? Great guy. Though he was much senior to me. And Deepak Yadav is his name. And I picked up the tricks of how a business development presentation is to be done. Also, what all data needs to be presented. So he was a good friend, and we would talk about it, and he would tell me, what it takes to make a business successful, what all I should look into. So that I had kind of picked up from him. And here, the moment I got an opportunity, I used it there. And you will not believe, they used to believe in mall stores. In North, there was no mall store, standalone store till that time. This was all in the South. They were not very confident of going into mall stores at that point in time. And eventually, I took the call. I picked up a store which was at fabulous rates. And it was at a place which is called Sanjay Place, the most happening place in Agra. And then my MD, of course, these things don't, unless they go through the finance head and the MD and all that, it will not come through. He was so pleased with that location that down the line he decided that, okay, the North business expansion was to Rajinder. And though it was unofficially given to me at that point in time, by about 6 months in my next appraisal, it was put as part of my profile. Business development was never ever a profile or officially put in as part of anybody's tax.
So how it was different from the role that you were already playing, except the designation and the profile? Wow.
Okay. The difference was that I was only doing sales orientation, the sales and the merchandising bit.
Okay.
So I would focus on what I needed to do to improve my sales, whether it was on the people's front, whether it was on the merchandising front, whether it was on the promotion front. As I said, the complete life cycle of the product I would have to look into. So that was two couples.
Business development?
Business development wasn't there at that point in time. So I would only have to run stores to start with.
Okay.
And just taking care of merchandising.
Okay.
So here came the business development. Till that time it was more centrally done.
Okay.
So when I did the Agra store and they were convinced that we would do it, then they started interacting with me. Okay, we want to open here, can you please do a reconciliation, look at the market, figure out. And thankfully I found a guy who, again, continues to be a good friend, who's a chartered accountant by profession, and but used to be in the business development domain. And why I'm emphasizing on the chartered accountant? Because he knew the nuances of what it takes for a business to be successful. So when he would present me a property, he would know what I'm looking at. So with him, I did about 6-7 properties. But he knew what are the numbers or the rates or the rentals I would look at.
Okay.
I also changed the game of looking at business development. I mean, that's all my own this thing. That for me to look at, what is the rental I need to take, I must first of all know what is the potential of that particular location, which would also get centric to what are the kind of brands, what are the competition brands you have, what is the opportunity for you, what is the pie within the same brands you have. Basis that, I would make a projection first of all. That projection would lead me to a certain number. Now based on that top line projection, you would very easily be able to gauge what is the maximum rental you can actually shell out. You see, by the norm, it should not be beyond the 13-14%. So my rentals, I knew that, okay, fine, if I have to go and speak to the owners of the businesses, if I have to speak to the landlords, this is the maximum I will need to go.
So the business development profile is sales plus taking the number of stores.
Expansion, you call it business expansion.
Business expansion.
So when I joined them, I think the number of stores that we had was about 10, 11. And when I left them, I think most of the stores had been done by me. By that time, we left at 20. I left at 29 stores. When I moved to a new profile in Bangalore, which was Easy Buy.
Easy Buy.
Easy Buy. It's a 2-tier city format, but that was a new format that they introduced.
Okay.
So 29 stores, whatever stores I did, one of which was in the premium locality of Kamla Nagar, which they always wanted. I was able to crack that. Of course, the rentals were on the higher side. The 3-digit rental was what was for the asking. I had to do a lot of convincing, because my numbers, my assessments very clearly said that we're going to get the business out of it, and so clearly we did. In that store itself, though they felt that the rentals were on the higher side, it went to the board in the Gulf. And then I had a lot of questions put up to me, and to the credit of the MD of India, Mr. Vasant Kumar, by my side, he let me explain my, position of that. And Mr. Hariharan, Mr. Ramanathan Hariharan, who was one of the directors in the corporate board, did ask me a few questions about this. I think probably by way of the reasoning, the reason that he even agreed for that kind of a number or rate was the conviction with which I spoke about that location. He also told me at that point in time, Rajinder, I'm sure you're not getting emotional about this location, because that was a fabulous location. I said, no sir, even if I am, in 1 year's time my head is on the chopping block. I have many things that I think that you like. So we were actually able to break even in the first year itself. And that taking profitability, and today is one of us in the north, it's the highest profitable store.
So that's it here.
So that's taken. The Kamla Nagar store.
So going to Easy Buy, how and what exactly that?
All right. So I was doing fine in the region. Then they decided that Max needed to be taken to 2-tier cities and 3-tier cities as well.
Okay.
But then because it had become a more cosmopolitan brand, they didn't want to dilute the positioning of the brand.
Okay.
More on two counts. One is that from a cosmopolitan perspective, when they would walk into a 2 or a 3-tier, they should feel that they were wearing a cheap brand. By that time, Max had improved its stature to a cosmopolitan and a macro brand. We were not a 199 kind of thing. We reached to our 399, 499, but a lot of range, a lot of qualitative improvements, and then we were not the same as we were before. They decided that, okay, also from the other perspective was that in the 2 and 3-tier markets, the demand is a little different, or the aspirations of the people are different. Pricing is one side of it. They want the pricing on the lower side, that could have been adjusted. But in terms of the merchandising outlook, they are very, very, some markets are very, very orthodox when it comes to dressing up. Western wear, what kind of Western wear do you want to do? Or do you want to do it at all or no? In 2 and 3-tier towns.
So product place.
Yes, so the product place fit was there, and then the pricing fit had to be there. They went further up. Very, very conscious nowadays with the advent of this thing. Digital and social media and all, everybody knows the YouTubes, etc. People are very, very aware. Lots of money in 2 and 3-tier markets, but somebody has to, get in and tell people that this is the brand for you. So then we decided to change the model completely, and because I had the business development experience, they thought Rajinder Mattoo was the one who could expand, because first few years was expansion. So we introduced the brand in the Spar stores, which was our old company. Spar is, nowadays in FMCG also, you have certain pockets which have a family.
Landmark.
Yes, correct. So Spar stores are size 6, and then we gradually started. So we picked up state by state, etc. and all that. And then I was able to grow this, business to about, we started with about 10, 11 stores again. By the time I left them, we were 45 stores. The challenge here though was that we decided to get into model which was franchising. New model, franchising. So taking a rental store is far more easier. A franchising model is not so easy to get, especially when you're here. You have to get the owner to invest.
Owner invest plus also run to profitability.
He doesn't have. I only said it was a FOCO model.
Okay.
So you invest and I run it for you. But the conviction of him spending had to be given by me.
Okay.
That he had to trust in me. So we did align our thought process to them and say that we come from this genre, which is Max and Landmark, and they kind of were able to align to us. Initially, I think it was a bit of a challenge to get people to understand. But as a few stores opened and we had the performance to show, we kind of aligned the new franchisee interested people, investors, to those who had already been with us. And all of them, by virtue of the businesses that we had, or by virtue of the stores that we had done by that time, we were able to, they were convinced that this is a doable business.
Okay.
And that's where it, went along. And,
Easy Buy and Spar is the same.
No, Easy Buy is only the apparel format. Spar is their FMCG format, where Easy Buy just gets put in as one of the categories.
Okay. So Easy Buy still exists?
Yes, you'll see it along the road here as well. Easy Buy is growing and growing, I think. If I'm not mistaken, they should have now about 170, 180 stores. North you would find less, but down south a lot there.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because down south and franchisee model works much better, I think the conviction of the investors is far more bigger for the brand than probably not. Not people want to work more on the rental model, rent and revenue share.
This is your stinted lifestyle starting
Completely. Starting with Max.
Max,
And then
which wasn't successfully running that time in couple of the places.
Absolutely.
But you turn around the situation,
Over a risk
move them to profitability, introducing a loyalty program.
And of course, changing the customer experience. I think we're missing that out.
Customer experience, yes.
Yeah. So that's
And that's bringing down the marketing expenses.
Absolutely. Everything else got down,
And
your
so is
customer.
the profitability.
Absolutely.
Spike. Okay,
Absolutely.
got it.